I'm Victoria Mickens, and just how I got into surfing, I, like most little kids, just really was into magazines and just watching tons of movies, and I would always see like kind of the surf aesthetic, you know, the wetsuits hanging out the window,
Yeah.
and just girls in bikinis running around wearing puka shells, and I watched Soul Surfer when I was younger, and just like all of those things. I had a Bethany Hamilton poster in my room, and I had never surfed before. I loved the beach. I grew up for the first half of my life in California, and I just loved the water and wore rash guards everywhere I went, even at school and
Yeah.
stuff. But I had never surfed before. I just knew that there was this thing about it that was like really attractive.
Yeah.
And that went on for like years. So I kind of like bodyboarded, you know, body surfed, hung out in the shore break and stuff. And then that was on the East Coast in Maryland. And then where my mom's from, in Panama, we went down to visit my grandma, which we did a couple times a year. And I found out that they have a huge surf culture there and some really great waves, which now has been exposed to the media quite a bit. And my dad rented us boards for $5 at this really famous surf beach on the Pacific side of Panama.
Yeah.
And we just surfed until it got dark.
Wow.
And just like taught ourselves at first, and then the second time we went, we took a lesson, and that was that. I was like, oh yeah, I think I knew that I was gonna love it, but then I was like,
You're like, yeah, I'm
confirmed.
made
I
for
was
this.
like, yeah,
This
for
is
sure.
yeah, this
like
is it.
Rest of my life for sure.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. So Panama, wow.
Yeah, that's where my mom
That's where it
so-
started.
Yeah, for sure.
And then so once you got back, you know, once you got back home,
I wanted a board.
right?
I was like, I had rented I think it was a wave storm probably. They used to make wave storms a little longer, so they were like 9 or 10 feet.
Right, yeah. The
ones.
8 foot. I don't know why the classic 8
Yeah,
foot.
yeah. They used to be the longer ones. So I was like, okay, that worked. That was great. I want a board. I don't know anything about boards. My parents are like, where's this random obsession coming from? Neither of them surf. My dad swam a lot, so that's why we were into the ocean. But like, they were just like, what do we do? Like,
Yeah.
where do we even start?
How do we? Yeah.
And I got my very first board at 15 years old in the Outer Banks, North Carolina. We were there on vacation, and we went to a shop, and the guy was so nice and just like walked us through the process of picking out a board. Probably wasn't the best board. It was like a swallowtail, 6 foot, just awfully shaped, weird flat rails on the bottom.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was kind of a horrible board, but it was like my favorite thing ever. I was like, I have a board. I would like wax it up even if I wasn't going to the beach.
Yeah.
Because we lived 2.5 hours from the water.
Oh, wow.
Where we lived in Maryland. So every time we went to the beach, it was like,
Yeah, it's a day trip. It has to be a day trip.
It was a whole day
Yeah.
trip. So, and that, I'm glad for that now, because now I appreciate living close to the beach so much more.
Right.
Because I know
Yeah.
how it goes when it comes to the trek. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where that led. I did a little bit of contest surfing because I had this little image of me, you know, making it to the CT, just being like a late bloomer.
Yeah, everyone's
getting on the CT. Everyone has to have that little dream for a second.
Right.
I spent, like, I could go on and on. It was years of just like watching the Moniz kids surf and watching clips and just digging through YouTube, which back then YouTube didn't have a lot of surf content at all.
It
So
didn't.
I've seen it all. Like,
Yeah.
I literally dug to the depths. This is before like the JOB channel even existed.
Yeah.
Like, dug to the depths of YouTube just to find any kind of like stuff to teach me how to pop up faster, how to take later drops, how to not be scared of bigger waves. And there wasn't a lot of stuff. And now I just look at it and I'm like, wow, like there's like a whole
plethora of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where I kind of still am. It's just I'm always watching YouTube. I'm always trying to learn from other people. I've developed my own like personal style and comfort in the water, and started caring a lot less about like proving myself.
Right.
I think that's what happens when you're a young surfer, is that you feel like you have something to
prove.
to
Yeah.
prove.
And then once you get older, you
yeah.
realize like, oh, people's opinion really doesn't matter.
It sucks the life out of it.
Yeah.
It's just like not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at now.
So you have a really, really nice bottom turn, really graceful bottom turn. So the viewers, you guys will be able to watch it in one of the videos. But yeah, so far her video, when I first ran into you, was a well, I wouldn't say run into you. I saw you in the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I kept an eye on you, and I posted 3 short clips of you, and it's crazy because right now I think those clips are sitting at like 15,000 views.
Nuts. That's nuts.
And I linked it to her podcast as well as her YouTube channel, and you know, just so she could see some growth.
No, I literally saw like overnight growth, just like so much support and so much following, really lovely like comments and messages from people. And the funniest part is that for me, that was just like a really junk small day at Queens, and I just felt like, I was like, oh my God, I hope no one sees this. But it's so cool that people like actually liked it, because I was just like, this is just not my best surfing. But that's like what surfing is. It's not every single day. Well, unless you're like Khalees or Haley or anybody, it's just not like every single day like parked up on the nose, just like doing your thing. So I think a lot of people's, you know, their personal image of themselves, I've found with creating for Wahoo Surf Films, you know, sometimes I'll post a video and this person might be like, well, this isn't my best surfing or whatever, and then they're shocked because the video where they didn't think it was their best surfing has like 10 comments from different strangers, you know, praising them. Because people are stoked on different things. People paddle up to me all the time and they're just like, oh, you're so graceful, or I love your surfing is so beautiful to watch. And I'm just thinking, I always feel like super clunky on the waves, but I'm comparing myself to the people that I look up to.
Right,
and
exactly.
they're comparing themselves to the people
to
they look
other
up to.
people. Yeah.
So I think that's always like a big part of it. But oh my gosh, Queens is my favorite wave in the world. And I've surfed quite a few waves now, and I just always come back to just loving going backside. I used to, like you commenting on the bottom turn, I never thought anyone would compliment my bottom turn, because I also watched so many YouTube videos on how to like properly bottom turn.
It was so smooth.
I used to like be in my living room just like doing that. So that's kind of nuts. That's like super surreal. But no, that's my new board too, which feels like so buttery and comfortable in like all sizes of waves. It's a 9.2 Bing elevator.
Awesome.
Which, I don't know if you know Sean Raniata.
Yes, I know Sean.
Yeah, he has
Surfboard Holly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he was such a blessing. I went to his like warehouse and got to like see the board ahead of time, and he's like, it's kind of hard to choose a board without actually having ridden it. And I was like, I'm just gonna give it a go. It looks like the ideal kind of board.
This is me.
This is like the size I like. I've ridden so many boards at the shop, and I was just ready to like have my own, and it's amazing. And I'm
awesome.
stoked on it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna tag Bing in this video, and hopefully Bing is looking for a new team rider.
No way. I don't want to tarnish the Bing name.
Oh my God.
No, but I love the board. It's really cool. It's actually Hannah Sheldon's the one that like kind of got me like on that radar of Bing, because I still wasn't super familiar with like the more prolific shapers and brands aside from like the shortboard brands like Channel Islands and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. She just had this like, I was so inspired by her, because I remember we were working at the shop and she just like, I want to be sponsored by Bing one day. And I was like, okay, that's random. I mean, we just met, but like, cool. You can tell me your life dreams or whatever.
Yeah.
And she just had this like that goal and just did it. And she surfs beautifully, and she, you know, invested time into like going to Queens all the times, but she also got 2 really good Bing boards for different conditions, like a fish, and I think she also had the elevator model at the time. And that just made me I was like, I just want to go get an elevator and get better at surfing too. I don't know if I did it prematurely, but it's definitely one of the best purchases I've ever made.
Awesome.
Easily. And Sean walked me through the whole process, which made it feel like so much more comfortable than just like buying a board on Craigslist, which I've done before.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna link Sean down in the comments at Surfboard Holly.
Yeah.
So you guys can check out his inventory. He keeps
amazing.
it up on Instagram. He has a really nice, diverse inventory of boards.
Super up to date.
Right.
Diverse in terms of prices and shapes, and he's like super knowledgeable. Has like ridden.
He really is.
Things,
yeah.
So
and believe it or not, he used to be like a pro bodyboarder back in the day.
Yeah, I believe it. No, he's definitely like a waterman, and he's so easygoing and just like helped me out. He was like, I don't know, like you should really like try the Friends or something before you get this. But then I'm so grateful that I have that board now because
Yeah.
I just enjoy it every single time I paddle out on it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me about future endeavors. Where do you see surfing taking you, and where are some places you'd like to go and visit?
That's a great question. That's changed so many times over the years, so it's kind of a really interesting question. I think I used to like really want to be a surf commentator. That was like my dream for a long time, and that's kind of what took me down, ultimately committing to journalism in school.
Yeah.
Was just wanting to like be alongside Joe Terfel, calling contests and whatnot. And I still have that in the back of my mind a little bit, is just the idea of doing something in terms of like announcing or calling contests. But I would really love to just I love cinematography. I love making films, and even though I studied journalism, I was always hanging out in the film department. It was so silly. I was like, why do I do this? Where I'm like studying this one thing, but I would always just be like kind of like walking over
there. Yeah.
I would be on people's sets all the time for like more narrative style films.
Mm-hmm.
But I see myself creating more. I have like dreams of going back to Panama and really like profiling the country and showing the Panama that I know, the Panama that I've spent my childhood going to, my grandma's house, the beaches that I surfed over there.
Yeah.
I would love to there's so many talented surfers over there, and not specifically to expose spots or like to promote tourism or anything, but more so just to show like how rich like surfing history is over there. So I'd love to just like go back there mostly. I miss it so much.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Peru and surf Chicamas. Maldives, of course.
Everyone wants to go to Maldives. That's even on my list. Yeah.
But I also have I would love to surf like a French beach break. I love watching I grew up surfing beach breaks, and I love seeing people navigate the sections of beach breaks on a log. And I've done a little bit of that, but I'd love to do more of that. So I just have all these little trips and films in mind, like archived music and things that I'll make one day.
That you want to make, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it went from really wanting to be in the more competitive or industry scene to just wanting to make art and make people think a little bit more, and just help show how much fun it is, more so than how technical it is or how, I don't know, how cool you can be with the most expensive board, most expensive suit, most extravagant travels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So it's funny you said that, because I'm like the opposite. I'm a cinematography major, and journalism is one of those things where I'm like, man, if my school if we still had a journalism program, I would have minored in journalism, because I really like getting out, interacting with people, researching and finding stories.
Absolutely.
So,
and you're good at that. You're already doing that. The thing about journalism school versus just doing it, because we all have the talent of connecting with people. That's human nature. The cool thing about journalism is that they are harsh and they just tell you what you're doing wrong. And I think I don't, I could have just gone and started writing on my own or started filming on my own. But I'm so glad that someone told me that's trash. You know what I mean? Or took a red pen and just went through my entire article.
Right.
And I'm I wrote 1,500 words, and they're well, only 300 of them were good. So,
wow.
And I personally really like straightforward, honest, it's not even criticism, it's critique, just people telling you where you can shave stuff off. The same thing with films. You incorporate scenes that don't add to the plot at all, that aren't actually setting the scene. You add way too much exposition when you don't need it.
Right.
And I just love that, being more concise and shaving things down and trying not to be too redundant with things, because that's the genius of capturing people's attention and making people feel connected to something, is that you take all the information you get and you synthesize it. So I think that's the best thing about journalism school.
Yeah.
But you're already doing it. You're already seeking the stories. You already see the stories that are important to tell, which is half the job, because people don't know how to find those things. They, focus on the same stuff all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So tell us about your podcast and your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So the podcast, they're two separate entities at
Yes.
this point, which is awesome. I think at first I wanted everything to be coherent and all part of the same thing, but the podcast is definitely like a journalistic pursuit of me seeking out stories like you're mentioning. And it started out with me just messaging Kayla Moore, Carissa Moore's younger sister, and just being like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Do you want to be on the first episode? And she's like, yeah. And when I tell you, like, I was like full, like sweating so much, like the nerves were insane. And I'm usually not even a very nervous person. So that was kind of nuts. And it went so well. And I was like, that felt so good.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Now I have this connection with this person. We made this thing together. And I can just do that.
Yeah.
And I messaged other people and they were like super game for it. And it's slowed down a little bit just with like other pursuits that I've had.
Right,
but
yeah.
basically the idea was just to tell stories of people who surfing has changed their life in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter how. And it doesn't matter where they are, and it doesn't matter how profiled they already are within the industry. It's just like what you're saying. It doesn't matter like if you're famous or not, or if you have tons of accolades. Those are awesome. And I also love to like learn from those people's stories because that's something that not too many of us get to experience.
Exactly.
But there's also a bunch of us that we can just relate to who are in SoCal or in Norway who had the same thing. They wanted to go surf and they made it happen in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
And there was something that needed healing there, which kind of was the initial point of the podcast, was just to talk about the more like healing aspects of surfing.
Yeah.
People who have overcome something because they got in the water, because that's what I did. I like definitely overcame so many things in my life just because I had the access of like being able to drive out to the coast and be in the water. So that's the podcast, and then the YouTube channel, just because I love like filming and love
you love
weird,
creating
funky
and being a
shots.
creator.
Yeah, oh, it's so much fun. I like take the camera down to the beach, and it started out just like bad, just like with my phone, like not even like a good phone. It was like like iPhone 5.
Yeah.
And then I used my mom's old camera, which is a DSLR, but it's like not like a good DSLR.
Right.
It's not made for video at all.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was just like changing out lenses and just not ever really being able to be versatile with
Right.
it. And then I dropped it and then the lens broke out.
I've been there.
So then I worked at Michael's, the creative store on the mainland, just like the arts and crafts store.
Yeah, I know
And
Michael's.
saved up for the camera that I have now. And
Yeah.
I just enjoy filming my life. And a lot of my friends, I think that's who I do it for the most, is my friends who I don't get to see because they're in Panama, they're on the East Coast, they're in the British Virgin Islands, wherever they are. They get to like kind of keep up with my life. And they also get to like know when I'm going through hard times too, because it makes them feel like less alone. So that's what that's more focused on.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be a surfing channel initially, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say to like other girls who
Oh my gosh,
look
yeah.
up to you and you know they see someone that looks like them and like you know they want to try surfing
Yeah.
and get out there? Like what would be some words of encouragement and tips
Right.
you would give them?
Well, first of all, don't listen to like any self-righteous man who shows up and tries to tell you how to do it.
Exactly.
There are lots of people really trying to help you out, and I had plenty of people like that along the way. But there's
Yeah.
always going to be people who like
The expert.
you go home feeling weird because you're just like, why did they give me that unsolicited advice, or why did they randomly decide to tell me that I couldn't be on that kind of board, or I couldn't be at whatever it is.
Right.
So that's, first of all, don't listen to anybody.
Ran into
honestly.
that. I understand. Yeah.
Listen to Auntie Vic.
Yes.
And the other thing I would say is just like watch your favorite surfers and just like watch them and watch them and watch them, because like sooner than you know it, way sooner than you know it, you'll be doing the same thing as them. I'll use the example of Kalia Moniz, everybody's idol. Kalia was that person for me who was a surfer of color, and I idolized her. And it's funny now, just like working for their family, but I full idolized her, watched any clip I can. I've seen all of her videos so many times I could probably like recite them. And it was just, she's goofy footed. She lived in California for a while, so she did do the beach break thing for a while.
Right.
And just that, her taking her time on the wave and charging, but like her just taking her time. That's it. All the girls that we watch now, they watched her.
They did, yeah.
And I watched them, and I watched her as well. So it's just like, just watch. And suddenly you'll be out there, and you'll have this weird like instinct to do what you've seen.
Right.
I don't really know how to explain it other than that. Just watch. Be observant. A lot of people want to get good at surfing, and they're just like frustrated. And I was one of those people, like just working out in the gym and like paddling out and just like trying to force something that's not it. And you can actually just watch and be observant of all of the conditions in the water, all the different people and their different styles in the water. And then you hone in on your style very naturally because you're not even thinking about it.
Right.
You know, you just remember that, yeah, sister did that bottom turn like this, and I want to do it like that. Or she always, you know, all the Queen's kids like fade to the left before they go right.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do that. I was always cross-stepping out onto the shoulder. But I would watch her, and then I was like, oh, let me, you know, and then go right. I don't know. So just watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think the more you watch, the more inspired you feel. And then when those hard moments come, you won't feel as worried. You just like, you really won't. Like I'll have like a really bad wipeout, or the leash will break, or I feel like I was clumsy and I messed up a step.
Yeah.
And then I'll go watch Nate Florence, who's another YouTuber that I absolutely love, and surfer that I love.
Yeah.
And watch him just like also fall. And I remember that in that moment, oh wait, like Nate's fallen before, Nate's broken his leash before. Like someone that I idolize who is 10,000 times better than me has also made that exact same mistake before,
Yeah.
or slipped because he didn't put enough wax, or wore the wrong suit and got really
Right.
sunburned,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
I love his tips and you know how he talks
yeah.
about things.
So
yeah.
I think when they talk about empowerment, that's part of it. It's just knowing that the people that you love and idolize go through the same stuff on a daily basis as you. And the more you watch it, the more it's just in your head.
Exactly.
So that you remember that in that moment and you're not freaking out as much. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I know that's a long-winded answer, but I could talk all day because I want all people of any like background to feel comfortable with trying something, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be surfing, but I don't want you to ever feel like that is if you don't like it, that's a different story.
Right.
If you surf a bunch and you are like, this is not fun, then fine. But never let it be because you don't think you belong.
Yeah.
Like, forget about that.
Great tip. So, to close this out, I want to drop your social media links
Awesome.
down in the comments. So where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm at Alongside Victoria on Instagram. That was my attempt to be kind of alongside Joe Turpel, because he always says that when he's commentating.
Okay.
He always says, I'm here alongside Rosie Hodge and Martin Potter and whomever. So Alongside Victoria. And then the YouTube channel is called Auntie Vic, because I'm always trying to give advice like an auntie. And then the podcast is called Find the Open Face, because it's all about, that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to find that little bit of open face to do the maneuvers that we want, and in life to be able to have the space to express ourselves.
Cool. And what platforms are your
So the podcast's on anything that you can listen to. It's on Google, it's on Audible, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify. And then YouTube is for Auntie Vic, and then I just have an Instagram. I don't have TikTok or anything like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Meet the Surfer.
Thank you so much.
With Victoria. Be sure to give her a follow on Instagram, YouTube, as well as follow her podcast.
Yeah.
And everybody have a great day. Aloha.
Thanks.
Cool. That was good.
Thank you so much.
That was so good.
That was so fun.